Hi, friends. Welcome back to the library. Today, I have with me Miss Ellie, and I'm super excited to be talking to you. We've been waiting for a little bit. And
Hi, I'm so excited to finally be on. I know we spoke about it before.
yes,
Studying.
oh my gosh. And you're doing amazing, by the way. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Doing all your studying. And I was like, yay!
Now it's time for fun.
Yeah. So, I know you've probably been really busy, but we're going to ask it anyways. We're going to go in. We're going to start with how you got started into reading or what really got you there into like hard and heavy. And then we'll move from there.
As a kid, I was always a reader. My dad read a lot, and he always had a lot of books. I wasn't really interested in what he was reading, but that prompted me to start. And so me and my sister would go to Barnes and Noble on the weekends. It was like a treat for us. Over the summers, I would spend summers at my grandmother's house in Long Island, and I just clearly remember hanging out in her backyard on the hammock, always with a book, telling my grandmother to not answer the phone if my friends call. I'm unavailable because I want to read my book, getting all my book reports done super early, like the first month of summer. And it was just always something that was fun for me, never work.
Yeah. Are you like some of the others who like fell off at one point and then had to jump back on the bandwagon?
Yeah, not by choice. I was like in school and college and everything. And so my time was consumed with reading textbooks and things that I didn't really want to read, but I didn't have time for enjoyment, for reading for fun. So like when I got pregnant and everything, that's when I started getting back into reading because it was just my time now.
Yeah.
And it also just kind of helped me get through my pregnancy sickness and just kind of like have something for myself. So
Well, that's nice. I'm glad that you were able to come back to it. Some people are like, I came back to it, but I wasn't able to get like in it. And I was like, I'm sad.
oh,
I feel bad.
I know it's a lot.
Is your genre choice like of preference still the same as from when you were a kid, or has it evolved?
Kind of. I'm big into thrillers. I'm kind of a little bit into everything, but I would say mainly thrillers are what I tend to flow toward. As a kid, I read a lot of Goosebumps, so maybe it started there.
Probably.
Now that I think of it, yeah, probably from Goosebumps and everything. And just, I don't know if you know, there was a show on Nickelodeon, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I just kind
Mhm.
of loved all those spooky things in Halloween. So that's probably what got me into thrillers.
Hey, all kinds of kind to make the world go round. That's one of my favorite sayings. It takes all kinds of kind.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
it's
crazy.
obviously what I'm reading now is way more intense than what I was reading before.
I feel like Goosebump is like the icing.
Yeah.
Just this icing on the top. So, since that is your favorite, and you're I'm going to go with like one of your comfort reads for that. It's where you gravitate for them. What would you recommend as like a starter for someone who's not quite like Goosebumps, but a little older, wants to dip their feet in? And then what was your favorite?
Oh, God, I think they're the same answer. So the first thriller that I read as an adult was a Frida McFadden book. I'm a fan. I
I
am.
knew it.
I read The Housemaid. That was the first book that I read from her, and it is my favorite still, I have to say. It was just so good and so like for someone who hadn't read in so long to see the twist that she puts in her books. I mean, my head was spinning. I always recommend The Housemaid to everyone.
Yeah. So I haven't read The Housemaid, but I'm very much if it's popular, I'm gonna divert as much as popular as possible. Like I'm just gonna
Yeah,
probably not. And it was really popular for a long time.
it
Still
was.
is quite popular. But I did read The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and then I turned around and read One of Us is Dead.
And because I did read The Perfect Marriage, but I'll tell you my opinions after. Tell me.
So my mom and I read The Perfect Marriage together, and she's more of a thriller, murder mystery person. I gravitate towards dark romance. So for me, I was like, okay, this is it. And my mom was like, I was wondering the whole time, spoilers to anyone before I go any further because I'm going to spoil it. My mom was like, the entire time I was reading the book, I was wondering why nobody was questioning the wife.
Yeah.
And I was like, I found her really sus. Like, we're just gonna, okay, whatever she's, because she's some hotshot. Like, I was not okay with that. I was like, something fishy is happening.
Yeah. I love like untrustworthy narrators too. I find that so interesting. Um, so now that makes me feel like you'll love The Housemaid even more, because I was actually like in my head, I had it in my head, the comparison between the two. I read The Perfect Marriage more recently. And I think that, first of all, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy the book until the end, and only because I figured it out. But I think
Mhm.
that it's because I read so much Frida, and I'm like so accustomed to like all of these twists that she does, that like my head is like already, it's already there. So like I just feel like you need to read The Housemaid.
Okay. I know. I know. And that's just like, it's no different than I read Fourth Wing because it has absolutely nothing to do with the book, but I watched a video on TikTok of someone being like, this is what these characters would be like if they were dancing in a bar. And I thought it was really quirky and cute. So I was like, okay, now I want to get to know these characters to see if I agree. And I ended up reading it while it was still semi popular before it like really took off.
Yeah,
And then Iron Flame had so much hype and it came out, let's just say it's May of 24, and I still have not read it.
I haven't either. But I
I
loved
was
Fourth
like,
Wing. I loved Fourth Wing. I started a little bit of Iron Flame, and it was starting kind of slow for me. And so, and also those books are long and heavy. Sometimes you need a little bit of a
they are.
break.
Yeah.
But I loved
Yeah.
Fourth Wing. I did.
But yeah, One of Us is Dead. Okay, so back to the other one. The One of Us is Dead. It switches point of views from like in real time and then reliving the entire murder through the one of the ladies being questioned by a detective.
Well, that
So
sounds.
like, yeah, so like for me, I audioed it. So I got to really be in it. And every time I would start it, I'm like, okay, I have to remember, am I actually like, are we in real time or are we reliving weeks prior through this woman's eyes? Like I had to stop because it would just keep going. Like there was no real pause whenever
Oh, so
it
it
was
didn't
just like,
tell you when? Like it didn't
like
tell
you
you
had
the
to
flash.
really, like you really, really, really had to pay attention to when she was talking to the detective and when she was like internalizing, and because they make it as if like when she's talking to him, when she's telling him what was happening, like it's a very quick transition. Like
Oh, okay.
I couldn't tell if she was like actually telling him or if they were doing like flashback version.
You have to really pay attention. Kudos to you. I don't think I could do a book like that on audio because I would get like so confused. I have to have the book open and like reread.
Yeah, but it was so good.
Now I'm gonna add that to my
Oh,
list. I love her covers because I can see that cover in my head. Her
yes.
book covers make me want to read her books.
Yeah. I have another one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got a cassette tape, like a not an actual
Oh,
cassette tape, but a VHS on the front.
I've seen it. I think it's on my list. I'm gonna pull it up. I've seen it floating around lately. I have to find it. It's
I'm
her,
like, I
right?
need,
It's
yeah, it is.
her.
I'm like, she is the reason that I want to read thrillers, but I'm like, I'm also kind of a scaredy cat, which is weird because dark romance has some really sick and twisted things.
I think if you can read the dark romance that you read, you can do thrillers. Maybe not horror, but thriller. I think you can
I
do
don't
it.
know because Santana Knox did a horror novella for Halloween called No Way Out, and I had no problem reading it.
You just have to dive in. I think you got this.
I
And
have one of
you
those
said
demand
like,
avoidance.
if you like the back and forth, like flashbacks and everything, another
Mhm.
one by Frida that's really good is The Inmate. They do
Okay.
that, but they'll tell you like this chapter will say 2 years ago or something like that. But
Oh yeah, no, there was no time reference. Not that I can remember, anyways.
probably made it better though. Kept you on your
Yeah, it
toes.
was. It was so good. Okay, so All right, we're going to go into, since we're talking about books already, we skipped social medias. We'll come back to that. What was the last book you read that you gave 5 stars?
Ooh,
Or to her
okay. I'm
today?
gonna open up because I'm like, what was the last book I read? My head is spinning. I actually finished Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I gave that 5 stars. And before that, I'm actually in the middle of the ACOTAR series and 5 stars. I just finished Wings and Ruin, A Quarter of Wings and Ruin. How do you feel about it?
Those are my babies.
Oh my God, I'm so late. I'm like, what took me so long? But no one seems to mind. I'm glad everyone's welcoming me into this ACOTAR
How
world.
do you feel about the brothers yet?
Okay, so
Tell me.
I am just laughing at myself because, okay, spoilers again, guys.
Yeah.
But I was like a huge Tamlin. Like, I feel like he had us all at first, like, because he definitely had me. And I'm like, what, Tamlin? And everyone I'm talking to is just laughing at me, like, while I'm reading it. Like, okay, just wait, just wait. I never thought I'd turn on him. But, yeah. Reese is like everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to Cassian's story, though, because I just know it's going to be amazing. Cassian, Nesta,
Chef's kiss.
My God. I love them all.
So, we're going to do it. I saw a couple interviews where SJM was blushing when someone asked her about Azriel's story because she was like, Azriel is a freak. And I was like,
he must be. I'm so curious about him.
I'm screaming like I am an Az girly.
You're an Az girly.
I am an Azriel girly. Okay,
yeah, I can completely get it though.
So
I might be an Azriel girly, and I don't even know it yet.
Okay, when you finish Mist and Fury, you come send me a message.
Oh no, I finished Mist and Fury. I already finished Wings and Ruin. I have to start Frost and Starlight.
I might have them backwards on my thing then.
I finished book 3. I have to move on to the 4th one.
Frost and Starlight is like a
novella.
What? I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they gave us just a little bit. It was like almost one of those like we're transitioning and we're trying to get you to know that we're transitioning. But I also felt like a lot of Wings and Ruin was laid out. Like both Mist and Fury and Wings and Ruin were laid out just in a peculiar way to lead into Nesta. Like I have some very serious things that I want to say to someone. Because the theories behind like who Elaine ends up with, if Tamlin gets his redemption story, who Azriel ends up with, what's going on between Azriel and Moore and why they don't always get along, like just and there's like it she tries to portray it as if they're acting like there's not tension, but there really is.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Eris, yeah. And the Moore situation. And somebody was like, I feel like the reason that we don't get very much interaction between Moore and Azriel is because he used his shadows to figure out what happened between her and Eris.
Okay.
And that he knows something about her that hasn't been
revealed
yet. And that's why he's like keeping her at arm's length.
God, why is she doing this to us?
I know. Why?
Yeah, I would love for this to be a film or a series, but it's just they have to do it right because I just don't want it to ever be ruined.
I honestly don't know if it's a good idea because of the way she is written between ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and Crescent Cities, and the way that they're all supposed to be seriously intertwining later into the Crescent City series. That like I don't know that they'd be able to do it justice.
Yeah, or they might not even start with ACOTAR. They might start with Crescent City or start with Throne of Glass.
And I also feel like if they were to do a series based off of it, that like
You're what? Oh, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. It's okay.
I really feel like if they were to do a TV series, that they would not keep the endings that she wrote.
And that's a problem for me.
Right. They would change the overlapping, kind of like how they did Vampire Diaries, between Vampire Diaries, the originals, and the legacies. Like, I feel like it would be something like that. Like, we're gonna have a little bit of crossover, but not enough to where it would do what she actually wrote justice,
Yeah.
but just to lead you to watch the other series.
Mm-hmm. I get like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you ever watched Game of Thrones, but like I just picture ACOTAR being like on film in that way. But also, I feel like it can't be a movie because there's just too much. Like you can't fit it in a movie. It would have to be a series. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
And there are a lot of questions that have yet to be answered because she admitted that ACOTAR is not done. Throne of Glass appears to be done, but it's always possible that she'll be willing to write another book for it, and Crescent Cities has just gotten started.
Did you read the other series?
I haven't.
I haven't either. There's lots of
I
time.
need to, and I have all of them on my shelf behind me, and I keep saying I'm going to.
It's intimidating when you look at it, you know? To get started,
Really,
once you're in, you're in. You can't get out.
right, and plus there's so much back and forth about the best way to read ACOTAR.
Oh my gosh, I was seeing so many
Or not ACOTAR, but
videos.
Throne of Glass.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know.
Yeah, because my brain wants me to read in chronological order.
Me too. I'm like,
My brain's like,
no
you
way.
need. Yeah.
I don't think I can do it.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. So we're getting through this. What's next? Since we talked about movie adaptations, TV adaptations, how, or not how, but have you seen the It Ends With Us trailer?
So I didn't watch it yet, but I heard that it's out. I was like, okay, so from what I've seen of it, first of all, I really did enjoy the book. Actually, that's one of the first books that I have on my list that I started, that I read when I started in my adults journey. And I did enjoy it a lot, but I definitely didn't picture the cast to be who they are. And I do love them both. I do. And I'm hoping that it turns out okay. Like, sometimes they pick different, they make it different, but it's still good. I don't know. To me, I just hope they don't wreck it.
I honestly pictured Lily a little more like homely than Blake Lively.
And I also pictured them just being younger in general.
Yes, that too. That too. And I think they did pretty good for Ryle, but in my mind, Atlas was more of like a dirty blonde, brownish than like an actual dark headed.
Yeah.
The way that they cast him.
Yeah. I could see that. I how did I picture him? I don't know that I pictured him blonde, but I definitely didn't picture him to be who he is.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like beach blonde, but like a
dirty blonde.
Yeah, like a almost caramel. Like it has blonde tint, but it's not quite like milk chocolate. And that's kind of what his hair is kind of giving when you're looking at the cast. And I was like,
I hope it turns out good. I'm still gonna watch it.
But at the same time, I really like when they do a twist and they add different ethnicities in. So I also kind of was hoping that they would not have made Lily
that would have
white,
been really cool too if they did it.
I was actually kind of hoping that they would take some creativity there, which I don't think they have the license for from her, but I was kind of hoping that they would do
That
an
would have been really
Asian
cool
Lily because that would have been cool.
and different and just so like, I didn't even think of that. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. Like, because I don't actually know the actor's ethnicity, and I'm not nowhere in this do I even really care, but he looks as if he is actually Middle Eastern. Like this the with his
Hmm.
olive skin tone, like he has some sort of Italian or something kind
I mean,
of
Ryle,
blood
right?
in him. Because
Yes.
yes, yeah. So it was like it would have been really cool to see him with someone who is a different ethnicity than white. Because why do they always have to make everyone white?
Yeah,
I'm tired of
it would have been
that.
intriguing.
Right.
No,
Anyways,
I definitely feel you on that.
whatever.
100%.
Needless to say.
You know what? They were never going to turn
Needless to
down
say.
Blake Lively. They're like, Blake
I
Lively.
mean, as much as I love
Yeah.
the goddess, she's a great actor and she does a
Ratings.
good
They knew.
job.
They knew what they were doing.
But yeah. And I told somebody else this. I was like, I feel like they chose her because of her followers, because she hasn't established. And so they were trying to make the book, or not the book, but the story bigger than it already is because Coho already has such a
Yeah.
big following. So they pulled her because they were pulling, like, not her supporting cast members because they're lead roles as well. The men are
Hmm.
those are lead roles, but because those two, I don't know them, and I don't know that many other people do.
I know Ryle.
But Blake Lively has
Yeah.
such a platform, especially considering who her husband is. And so, for you to bring in a book adaptation into a movie, you needed
Hmm.
someone with a name
There are
like
people who are
that,
going to watch it just because it's
so that
Blake.
people who right,
She's an
right,
amazing actress. I give it to her. I do. You know, it's just like you just
yeah.
want the characters to fit when you've read the book. So hopefully, I guess we'll see.
And my heart goes out to anyone who read any of the Harry Potters or the Hunger Games or anything and has already been through this situation a couple different times, but I'm gonna
I'm
keep
one of
coming
them.
back to it. But
I liked the Hunger Games though. I liked
okay.
the movies. I thought they did a
Yeah.
pretty good job, although there were tons of details missing.
Yeah, always. That one for sure. I actually read the books after I watched the movies because I'm 24, so I'm young. I didn't have a chance to
Yeah.
read those before the movies were created. Just because they weren't within my mental capacity of
Hmm.
reading at the age I was. But I did think that they could have there were some things that I felt like they should have put in that they missed, especially when it came to the
Yeah.
last book and the last couple movies. Just there was a lot of emotional buildup that had happened up until that point, and it just almost fell
Yeah.
flat at the end for
We have
me.
high, high expectations, us readers.
I know. I have no shame in it.
Well,
Because, I mean, if you can make me cry, you better make me laugh too.
exactly.
I'm telling you. So, on that note, what do you feel like you need from a character in order to feel as if though they are well rounded?
I love a character with a sense of humor. Like even if it's in a thriller book, like I just love to see a personality shine through with like little jokes and jabs and banter. I feel like that's how I get to know someone. I feel like if you can't laugh, like you don't have a
Yeah.
personality. Like you have to, be able to laugh at life a little bit. So that to me stands out for sure. That's why I love Abby Jimenez. And I just started reading her books recently, and I just feel like all of her characters, you
Yeah.
can connect to them so easily
I get
because of
that. I
that.
really do. I feel like I'm kind of the same. Like, not so much that they don't ever take anything seriously, but a mix of like both some emotional maturity, knowing like there's some serious stuff, like being able to recognize when someone's struggling versus, just
Hmm.
picking on someone or cutting up jokes, something to make somebody in a better mood. Like, knowing when is the right time. Yeah. That for me is,
yes,
and
absolutely.
I have that greatness in a partner already, so I'm like, but I love to read it.
Being able to read the room,
Wrap around. Yes. Please read the room. Thank you. I feel like I missed something. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try this one. If you were to write a book and go to publish it, would you be more drawn to doing indie publishing, or would you try to go the trad route and get a deal? And why?
That's a hard one. I want to say the indie route, just because, first of all, like, obviously the indie route is the more like affordable route if you're just getting started. But I also feel like it gets your name out there too. I don't know, but we're on social media and like the bookish community, so I see all the support that indie authors get there, and I love being a part of it, and I love helping to build them up because there's so much talent in this world, and it's like, oh my gosh, we read a book because it's Frida, we read a book because it's Geneva, but there are so many talented writers out there, and their books are out there, and no one has a clue. So I personally feel like it's good to like build up a community before even trying to like take it that far.
Yeah. I love
think it's
that.
fun.
I want to say I would love to go the indie route, but I also feel like if the opportunity arose,
well, yeah, girl,
to move into the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're gonna.
No, we're not gonna.
Realistically, I'm not gonna turn down the deal because I'm broke.
Right, if it's just gonna fall on my lap, like, come on. You know what
I mean? Yeah, for sure. Because I'm like, I know if I worked my butt off to write this book, as much as I would love to be able to do the work behind all of the advertising that goes into this. And I mean, because obviously I'm going to be on social media, I'm going to be making the connections, those kind of things. But there's also a lot of money that you put into yourself, that you invest in yourself when you're doing that. Like you have to personally pay for those Facebook advertisements. You have to personally pay or give up certain amount of copies or something to do ARC reads so that people can post on their social media.
Yeah, it's definitely a hustle.
BookFunnel is not free for authors. Like,
it's definitely a hustle, but I definitely respect it.
Yeah, then I'm like, that's also why I try to join as many teams as I can. And then I remember, okay, ma'am, you have a full-time job, you have hobbies, you like to be on social media, and you also have ADHD. So, no. No, ma'am. I cannot tell you how many times I have squirreled, like, just completely, like, new topic, moved. I can read over 10 books at a time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, over 10 books at a time because I can't always keep my brain focused on the same one. Right now, currently, I'm not doing that.
That's impressive.
However, I can.
That's impressive.
It's so hard.
I don't know how you do it. I would forget everything. I would have to start from page 1 every time. I can do 2 at a time. That's about it.
I was talking to someone else about it, and I think a lot of it has to do with most of them are not the same genre.
Yeah, that helps.
And if they're on different, like, mediums, I can separate them. And for me, as long as I get 4 or 5 chapters in, I have a base storyline. And as long as the character names are not similar, I can separate them. So that's how I end up having, because I'll have, like, for example, on my Kindle, I'll have started a mystery, a romance, a dark romance, and possibly a thriller if I'm into it. And then on my audio, I'll have the same thing. And then in paperback, or hardback, I'll have the same thing in print. So I'm able to have 3 or 4 per medium.
You're using different parts randomly. Of the brain in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But still, 10, that's wild.
Yeah. I had, last year at one point, I had over 10 in my currently reading. and somebody was asking me to buddy read with them, and I was like, not this week, but if you'll give me a week, I'll have 5 of these read, and then I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta do what's good for you, though, you know?
Yeah. And it works for me mainly because it's really like if something slows down and I'm not at a point where I can force myself to read through the slow part, I'll just put it down. And
Yeah.
I like to audio because I have an hour drive from home to work. So it's nice to fill that time with something other than just music, because sometimes I don't. I mean, as much as I love listening to music, it's a lot of the same stuff. I mean, you can only remake the same song so many times.
Yeah. Before it's a headache.
Always. So yeah, it's that way. But I had to think about somehow I managed to do that. Okay. Last year I was doing that. I haven't been able to do it this year. We're 5 months in. However, I also read almost just under 300 books last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just under. I was at like 295, somewhere around there. I got sick the last 3 weeks of the year while I was traveling to another state. So I ended up not being able to read anything because I had the flu. But had I not had the flu, I would have probably well surpassed 320.
Wow. That's amazing.
Which is crazy. And then I came back from being sick, like I recovered, and I couldn't read anything. My brain had just completely shut off. Like I finally started reading novellas at the end of January, and I got a few books in, and I was good. But even now, I think I've maybe read 50.
It's weird how that happens when you take a break. I understand when people say, like, when they take a break and they're like, oh, you know, it's been so long and I'm trying to come back and like get back into it. I get that, because when you take that break, it's like you almost forget, like you forget how much you enjoy it, how happy it makes you. Then you get into your first book and you're like, okay. But you know, life happens. You have to pace yourself. And
yes. Yeah. Well, and of course I have the problem that everyone else has is that I'm not currently like devouring books like I was last year, but for some reason they keep appearing at my house. It's not me. I'm not buying them. They're gifts.
It's a sign. It's a sign.
It was a gift. It didn't come out of my bank account.
They look so pretty on your shelf too.
I have started doing those little Lego flowers. They're so
cute. I was staring at it. That's my favorite flower too, sunflower.
I have a sunflower. I have a tulip up here, which you can't see it currently. And then I've got some daffodils, which are my favorite flower. Hey. And they only bloom for like a few weeks at a time in March. And then I also have some cherry blossoms.
Oh my gosh. Did they take a long time to do, or?
Actually, they didn't. They really, they're the little single boxes. They're like $14.99, I think.
It looks really cute as an addition on your bookshelf.
Yeah, it is. They're kind of hard to balance on the books, but yeah, no, they weren't too bad. I think it took me maybe 30 minutes. And depending on which one you get, it comes with 2 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So the Japanese cherry blossoms were the first ones I got, and it came with 2, but they're a bunch of little tiny flowers. So it took me
those. Yeah, they're nice.
It took me almost 45 minutes to do those. But then when I got the daffodils, it took me 25 to do both of them, just because they're tiny pieces. They're less than half an inch in size, so like you're very likely to lose pieces if you're not careful.
Sounds like what would happen to me, for sure.
But yeah, they're my favorite.
Now I'm convinced me and you, like, I'm going to recommend you a good thriller, and you're going to recommend me. You said your favorite genre was dark romance. That's your favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could recommend a good one to me.
I got so many.
Get that done at some point.
I have this hesitancy with recommending dark romance to people because I have no triggers. But
I don't either.
Okay, thank God. No offense to anyone who does, and there's no shame in knowing your boundaries. I just
Yeah.
don't have any.
I haven't come across anything yet, so that really made me feel like, ugh.
I was talking to my mom about that because she reads thriller, murder mystery, those kind of things. And I was like, she was telling me she needed more books to read. And I was like, well, I'm in a couple Discord chats. I'm, Facebook groups, and I've got some Instagram friend chats and group chats and all kinds of stuff. I can ask some people, what you would like. So I went into the Discord and I was like, anybody who can help. My mother has read almost everything written by James Patterson and Alex Cross. And for some reason, this woman wants more. And I have no idea because this is not my genre. It's not my forte. She's read The Handmaiden. She read The Perfect Marriage with Me. I'm like, I don't know what else to. But she doesn't
That's
use
not
KU.
cute.
She doesn't use KU. She uses
Oh,
Amazon Prime Reading,
okay.
which are two separate things, but they work similar. But I told her, I was like, I don't know, but I can ask. And she was like, I was like, but I need to know what are your no-goes? Like,
Yeah.
what are the absolutely not? She was like, well, I think I'm pretty good. Other than if it has any like young kids, like teenagers are fine because teenagers are dumb. And I was like, all right, you're talking to your child here. I was your teenager once, but it's fine. She was like, but nothing that can happen to a child. And I was like, I sent you she was like, well, she cut me off. She's like, well, if it doesn't have detail and it's about a child, I can read it. But if it's detailed, and I was like, okay, so you just don't want to read gruesome stuff about children. That's fine. Not many
Yeah.
people write that anyways because that's heinous.
Mm-hmm.
But I just laughed so hard because I was like, have you even read any of the ones I sent you? And she was like, well, no.
She doesn't trust your opinion. What's going on?
I was like,
That's so cool
really?
that your mom's like a reader like that, though. And your mom's a thriller girly? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
her in with Frida.
I tried. I tried. She was like, I don't know. And I was like, of course you don't.
Have
It's
you
because
ever
it's
read
coming
any
from
of her
me.
books at all?
Have I?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's on my to-do list.
Oh wait, yes. Yes, I have. I read a novella.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that wasn't my favorite. I have to say, The Gift.
I don't remember, but I just know it was either a
Yeah.
novella or it was a shorter one. It
Hmm.
wasn't, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad.
I think you should read The Inmate.
Okay.
She's a
What are they?
nurse in a correctional facility, and she has a history with one of the inmates, and it flashes back and forth. I feel like you would love it.
Ooh, okay. So the one that I told her she really needed to read, I actually got it from Angie, and it's called Angel Maker.
I feel like I've seen that around. Who's it
Yeah.
by? Well, I'll look it up. I'll look it up. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. It's a large series. I think there are
It's good for
10.
thrillers too.
Morgan Green.
Okay. Mhm.
I told her the only thing that Green is Greene, but the only thing that I told her was different about this was that it was set not in the United States, so it was like set. I think it was Scandinavia.
Oh yeah, it's a Scandinavian crime thriller.
Yes,
I'm adding to my list.
yes. But so, basis of the story, they're hunting down the guy who murders like early teenage year girls and props up their bodies and displays them as quote angels. So
Mm.
it's a little gruesome when you read the first description about it. But it's also gruesome to a point where when you picture it, it's almost, this is going to sound really bad, but it's almost beautiful.
I already knew you were going to say it.
The way that it was just like, when I pictured it, I was like, that is so gruesome and nasty, but that there's also this very delicate line of, it's kind of beautiful
Like
the way
artistic.
that yeah, very artistic. And I was trying to tell her about it, and I was like, I think you'll really like it, because they're trying to figure out, like, who it is, if it's a copycat, because the guy who they originally arrested for it just died in prison, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, this is really cool. Like, I didn't think I was going to like it, because I'm really not a murder mystery thriller girly, and I devoured it so quickly. And she's like, okay, I'll and I asked her, I was like, did you even read it? And she was like, no. Woman.
You're going to have to get her on another mother-daughter buddy read with you in order
I'm
to get her
telling you. I was like, rude. And then I was telling her, I was like, you'd like One of Us is Dead, because it has a twist at the end that you probably will actually see coming, because you read this all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess never mind. Rude.
Having a background in Law and Order SVU also helps with solving book crimes.
Yeah. We used to watch Law and Order SVU, Criminal Minds, NCIS Los Angeles, or NCIS, and then I watched Hawaii for a little bit. And then not Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's more a comedian show, but the First 48, those sort of shows regularly. And sometimes I can put together the pieces, sometimes I can't.
So you have a bachelor's in criminal justice, basically.
That's what it sounds like. If only I had the degree to hang on my wall.
I'm sure it wasn't as fun, though. Getting oh my God, I can't speak. Getting the degree is not as fun.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, and I told her, I was like, if you really want more recommendations, you should be like, join the Facebook groups, because she's in the Book Talk Baddies. It's like a 200 plus thousand.
I'm in there.
I was like, that one's huge, but that one's going to be, they're going to post more about romance, because it's about book talk. Like, book talk is heavily romance presence.
Yeah.
I was like, and there are going to be books that are like, I mean, not books, but there are going to be pages that are more geared to what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't know, I think I'll leave you to that. And I was like, woman.
She would love it.
I'm trying. Okay. We just don't see eye to eye on that. It's fine. It's because she's a Taurus.
Oh my gosh, my daughter's a Taurus.
I'm a March Aries, and she's an April Taurus, and we're
both March Aries, you and I.
Turn up.
Right.
As an Aries, a March Aries who married an April Aries, please do not follow my mistake. Do not.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot. Okay, between me and my mother and him, there is a lot of attitude and anger.
Wow. I did not know. That's funny. I never dated my sign. I don't know. It's kind of scary.
It's a lot of fun, though.
I would imagine so.
It's a lot of fun, and we balance each other out. Our personalities are a little bit different, so that's always good.
I feel like they say March and April Aries are different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyways, we're gonna you keep it interesting over here. We're gonna just go back to the social media.
You're turning red, Natalie.
It's fine.
It reminded me of Violet. You're turning violet.
It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm just gonna take a drink of water.
Oh God, who let us on here?
Mm-hmm. You know what, though? This is what I wanted when I started this. I wanted to just be able to get on and talk and laugh and cut up and
just
do whatever.
Chill.
Yeah,
I was a little bit nervous actually at first, but like now it's just like, okay, we're having a conversation. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my goal. But no, So, we're talking about social medias. Tell me
Mhm.
about the different social medias you have and which one you prefer.
Okay, so for book stuff, I actually prefer Facebook. I just feel like there's just, I don't know, I have so many friends on there and I just love it. I love it there. I love it here. But oddly enough, like in my personal life, I prefer Instagram
Mm-hmm.
or Facebook. Like I don't even use my Facebook page for like, I barely post. Like it literally is for my book groups on Facebook.
Same.
Instagram, I find to be more like friendly, like user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I need to really work on my Bookstagram. It's been a little bit abandoned because it's hard to do different platforms at once, you know?
It is. I think
Yeah.
for me, and I think this has a lot to do with just because I'm a little bit older. I feel like everyone 20s and older struggles with like TikTok, but I just, I can do it, but I don't find it all that interesting, like creating it. Like, I had a little bit of fun when I first started doing it, and then it was to the point where like the algorithm is so built towards like you're posting 3 and 4 and 5 times a day, and I can't make that much content.
Yeah. I understand that completely too because I'll see TikTok like book talk videos and I'll be like, "Oh, cute," but like to make the content,
Mm-hmm.
it's different making the content.
Yeah, I love book talk for scrolling, like doom scrolling, and building my TBR because I
Mhm.
will always find something new. But if I'm and like I use my Bookstagram to really push my reviews out, or not necessarily reviews, but just like pictures of what I'm reading or what I've got on my shelf, etc. And I have it all. It's really aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, you're really good with that. Really, really good at Bookstagram.
Scheduling is my best friend. But as far as like actual connection, I do prefer Facebook as well.
Yeah, for interaction, but I definitely like with the Bookstagram thing. You're a little younger than me, so were you like around with the MySpace era? MySpace? Do
I
you
was,
remember?
I was, but I wasn't quite old enough to use it. It right as I got into the age where my parents were allowing me to have, it had downhilled, and Facebook had just come out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Bookstagram, like Instagram in general, gives me that type of vibe where it's like you're creating, like it's like it really feels like home. Like my Facebook page, you go on a Facebook page, doesn't feel like home.
Mm-mm.
You know, like you create your own aesthetic on your Bookstagram, and I
Yep.
just wish that we could add like background music. That would be nice, where you can
Yeah, to
like
the
choose to mute it if
page.
you want. You can
Yes.
mute it if you want, but like that's so cute to scroll through the page and have the music in the background.
Okay, so what would your song be?
Right now, what's that song that's like viral on TikTok? That's like the ACOTAR theme song that everyone like. We just made it our ACOTAR theme song in our minds, and I'm gonna have to find it for you. It's so funny.
I'm gonna be honest, mine would probably be a Taylor Swift song.
If you asked me this like 10 years ago, I would have a song ready for you. I used to have, please, my MySpace was like my whole identity. If I can find the song for you, I think it's this one.
Oh,
That one. I just love it. It sounds so
yes.
magical.
Mm. I'm saying.
You see, it just gave you all the feels.
Yes. Okay, so I think mine would probably have to be I Can Do It With a Broken Heart.
Mm.
Mainly just because she's like, I cry a lot, but I'm so productive. And I'm like,
You're like, yes.
that right there.
That part, girl.
That would hit home for so many people. So many people. And I'm like, do you know how many times I needed this song 10 years ago?
Right. Oh my gosh. I know that feeling.
10 years ago. What were you doing?
It's okay. We can always cry about it.
Nothing's wrong with a little crying. Although, we're just going to shift for a second because this made me think about something that I saw earlier today. And it was like, you have to remember that once you hit your 20s, you're officially out of your teenage years into your adult years, but you're still a baby adult. So like you have to remember you're still like, if you're 23, you're a 3-year-old adult. You're a 4-year as it goes up. So like it's going to be okay for you to not have everything together just because you finally got into your 20s. And I was like, I needed to hear that as a married woman in her 20s, in her mid 20s, that like I'm watching the people in their 30s and 40s around me have everything together and be married and have established all of these things. And I feel some pressure to have the kids get the things. And that may not be my path, but I feel pressure to do it really fast and have it all together where I am. And I have to remember that there are people older than me who don't have it together, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm in my early 30s and I still don't have it together. And I had my daughter when I was 30. Yeah. I gave birth to her at 30. So, and I felt the same way. Trust me, I felt the same exact way, but it's just not true.
Yeah. And I'm like, I constantly put myself, we're having a real talk now. I constantly put myself in like this little box because I'm married at 24 and we own a home in Texas. And it's one of those like, my husband works long hours because he's in the oil field. I work an 8 to 5, but I drive an hour back and forth. And it was like, where do people find time to do all of the things?
Yeah.
Because it's recommended that you eat a healthy diet, work out, have the job, go to the grocery store and make good choices. You have to mow, you have to do all of the household chores. I'm like, where do y'all have time to do all of this? Because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how are you doing it? And then I remember that my parents were having me do it as a kid. And I was like, all right, it makes sense.
They said, let's put her to some use.
Like, it makes sense.
And you'll do the same.
I don't know if crotch goblins are in the cards for me, but
you never know, girl, because I didn't think so either.
Honestly, when I was in my teens, I thought by now that I would have 2 kids. But now that I'm here, as much as I know the children are a blessing, I'm also very thankful that they're not in my cards yet.
Yeah, because it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to find the time. So like imagine when you have a child, that's like a whole nother thing too. It's really hard to find the time. Enjoy your time.
And I'm looking at like your first, it's very, very like right after I got married, I had a lot of married people tell me your first 7 years are the hardest. Like, especially even if you've been living with them for a while, like your life looks so different because it's not just like you have someone depending on you, but you now have to take somebody else's feelings into accountability of the choices you make, and you're not alone.
Yeah.
So different. I don't know how people have kids in their first 7 years because I would be going crazy right now. I already want to strangle him.
I'm going crazy right now. Full disclosure.
Prayers, good vibes.
Thank you.
All of the things.
Thank you.
To anyone and everyone who is going through this, I'm sorry.
We got this. Don't worry.
Yes, you got it. Oh, and I'm always here to listen, to vent with. I'm not the kind that's going to push you away. If you want to write me a letter so there's no evidence in the phone,
I'll mail it on over.
Send me a DM, okay?
You're going to be like, girl, you should write a book.
Look, I'm telling you, at some point you write enough letters and you'll have a book to put together.
That's very true. Good idea.
Do you have any like ideas that you would want to write about?
Actually, I wrote a couple of short stories before, like in my college year. I never did anything with them. Oh, I should. I used to love like writing children's stories, actually children's books. And then when I was in college, I was a teacher before, so I was studying to be a teacher at the time. And I was like, my specialty was math. So in one of my classes, they actually had us write a childhood book, but like we had to teach some kind of mathematics had to be in the book. So it was really cool. And mine was called Half a Halloween. And it was basically about a little boy who his sister was homesick for Halloween. And so he had to split all of his candy between them. So it's teaching division, like division by two and whatever. So
Okay.
Half a Halloween had to split all of his candy. And it was cute. I wrote a couple things like that. And then I used to write a lot of poetry also. Not like classic poetry, but you know.
That's cool. I have a couple ideas floating around in my head, and I work with quite a few authors on their teams. I'm an alpha reader as well, and I've been a PA before. And so I got some inspiration from some covers they had created just off a whim. And I had the author that I alpha read, she posted in her group earlier today, and she was like, I need help being creative. So, like, if anybody has any kind of theme or title or series name or story idea, anything, even like a vision for a cover, like, comment it, let me know, and I'll go in and try to create it. I had a couple. So it was like, I have this vision of a white cover with the skull, like the front of the cover has a skull in the center, like a 3D skull, and it's got like colorful butterflies coming out of the eyes.
Ooh.
And I was like, I feel like it would be really cool.
That sounds really cool.
Okay. She couldn't make the eye hole work, but she managed to get it coming out of the mouth, which looks even more ominous, but still extremely beautiful. I'm not going to show you this because
yeah,
oh my gosh, I feel bad for anybody who is listening because you're not going to get to see it, but I don't care. Send me a DM. I'll send it to you.
Sounds so cute. I'm like, you know that you're a thriller girly if you're like, that sounds so cute. Like the skull.
Right. 100%. Let me see if I can find it. There it is.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And the fact that they're red.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she chose to go with red, white, and black and a little bit of gray. And it's just the right amount. And I told her, I was like, I don't know how you pulled that from my brain.
That was beautiful.
But it is so pretty.
That was a really good idea, too. Like, you just came up with that.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I have this envision. And then I told her, her and her best friend are both authors. And I interviewed Crystal Miller. And I was talking to Crystal Miller and I was telling her about a couple of ideas I had and just some things. I'm probably not ever going to actually write it. And even if I did, it wouldn't be something that I chose to publish. I have no interest in actually going down that route. I like where I sit in my little comfortable bubble. I push my boundaries in other ways. But I was telling her about it and she was like, yeah, I'm starting something and I don't quite know, what to name it. And she was telling me about what was going on. And I was like, well, what if I helped her name a series. I helped her name a series. And I was like, no freaking way.
See, this is why being an author is so cool, though. You see?
Yes, that interaction is something else. And I just thought it was so neat because I was like, I never would have even thought about like that being a possibility. Like the indie authors typically have other things, like they have their hands in multiple things. Like the author that I'm talking about is N. Owens. And Miss Owens is not only a small business owner for a bookish shop, but also a writer and a cover designer. And I think she does something else too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, first of all, I have these little dragon pop sockets that are epoxy resin.
Ooh.
So cute. One of them is glow in the dark. I got so excited when I found that out.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
My husband, it was on my Kindle. And my Kindle was sitting face down to the pop socket on my nightstand. And he like rolled over one night. He was like, what is that light? I was like, I don't know. What are you talking about? My eyes are closed. I'm trying to go to sleep. And he was like, you've got some kind of light coming from your nightstand. I'm like, they're gonna make me roll over and look at it. I roll over and look at it. It's the little pop socket. And it was so cute.
Oh, it really glows.
Yeah, it glows in the dark. I was like, okay, all right, this is what we're doing.
You can see where my concern is. Like, no concern at all for his sleep being interrupted.
No, you're the one who had your eyes open. It's fine. If you're going to sleep, close your eyes. So do you are you part of any author teams? Do you like to ARC read?
So actually, I ARC read for the first time this year. I've never done it before. And I loved it. So this is like during my studying period. I was like really trying to. So I forgot that I signed up for this ARC, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do? I don't want to tell her that I can't do it, but I kind of did communicate to her that the book that we were going to be reading was the second book. And she was like, no, you can read it as a standalone. And I was like, oh my God, like this book is really long. It was like 600 pages. And I just felt like I was taking on too much. Let me tell you, I'm so glad that I went through with it. It was so good. You would probably love it, actually. E.Y. Kelly, the Camden Hills series, the Camden Hills PTA. Oh my God. So basically... they live in this couple moves into this town, and they're rich and very like high class, very judgmental, but they're all part of their children's school PTA. They do all the funding. It's like a very rich school, but there is also like an underground kind of like swingers community within there. Girl, let me tell you, when I tell you I flew through that book, I was like, like me sitting here just like relaxing, like I could totally live this life. It could like, wow, just wow. And it wasn't just all spice, like the storyline was amazing.
Okay, so that made me think of something that I actually, I'm in a couple different Discords. For anybody who doesn't know what Discord is, it's like a massive chat group with a whole bunch of different like little group chats that you can follow or unfollow or whatever, but you have access to them. And one of our little chats is a taboo chat, and we were talking about Credence and a couple others because there are quite a few taboo authors that are catching some flack right now. And we were talking about why people have such a problem with taboo and the authors who write them and everything. And somebody was like, I feel like the main reason that people have a problem with taboo stories and authors who write taboo is because they themselves have issues separating fiction from real life.
Yeah.
Because they want so badly to apply that fiction to real life when those sort of things don't happen in real life very often. Like less than 5% of the time is that even close or remotely close.
Yeah.
To what, and I was like, I didn't even think of it that way, but it makes so much sense because they get their panties in a twist. Excuse me.
It's kind of like an underground world, like nobody really is out here talking about it, but it's like nice to be able to kind of like have an inside look. I mean, definitely
for real.
Interest for sure.
Yeah, and I think obviously there are some icks with it. Like in real life, so many of them that I'm just not going to talk about, but I actually had a college professor who admitted, and I was in a private Christian college, who admitted to the class that he inadvertently ended up marrying his like second or third cousin.
Oh, it didn't go where I thought it was going.
No. So like, he figured out that like his like grandparent or mom's or his like great grandparent or something was his wife's like aunt or something, somehow like that, and they were actually related, and they had no idea until like they were 20 plus years into their marriage. Wow. And I was like, bro.
Wow. And it's like, what are you going to do
now? Like so important. So important. I mean, I had something crazy that I didn't think would happen whenever I got married. It just so happens that my husband's uncle and my uncle were lifelong best friends, and both of their names are Michael.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was really cool. Okay. However, not that was cool. That was neat to figure out. And to know that like my uncles knew his uncle's dad. And they were like, yeah, when you see him, like you're respectful, you're shaking his hand, saying hello, like you're on your best behavior, like we respect that man. And for some reason that connection just happened because I thought that was really neat. But then I was like, in that class, I was like, this is a private Christian college.
I wouldn't even tell it.
I'm like, well, why did you tell?
He still can't believe it. That's why.
We weren't even in like a psychology class or anything. We were in a Bible class. We were in like Old Testament class.
He's shook. He had to tell someone.
And I'm like, I get that the Bible has a lot of incest, but now is not a great time for you to admit to the rest of like, please do not share with the class anymore.
Yeah. Thank you. That's enough out of you, sir.
Right. I'm just like, I'm good. Thanks. But yeah, I thought of that because I was like, you know what, like a lot of these authors do get a lot of flack for that, especially when here recently I've seen more and more like authors admitting that they'll go in under their personal Facebook name or underneath a fake name and like agree to be part of other people's teams for arcs and go in and like review them and give them really negative ratings and just trash their book.
Wow. See, like for me, this book that I read, it was super spicy and super like obviously I said it was about like the swingers community, swinging community. I don't know. And obviously like it's not a life that I live or anything or that anybody that I know lives, but reading about it, the way that she did it was so nice because it wasn't just spice. So like I'm trying to like understand how this actually works. Like how does this actually work in real life? Like relationship wise, when you're outside, like how do you interact with other people? Is it a secret? That's what I found interesting too. Because I'm like, there are people who really live like this and I'm just so curious.
For anybody who is listening to this and your cell phone is near, you may want to move your cell phone because your FBI agent is listening. And right. You will, in fact, start seeing these TikToks.
I'm sorry.
And just so you know, because I did the research after reading my first novel, what you were just talking about, stay away from the upside down pineapples.
Do you know what's insane, actually? So I didn't know that the pineapple was like the symbol. I mean, I know it's upside down pineapple, but I actually have a pineapple tattooed on my body. It's not upside down, it's regular, but like, how funny.
That's so funny. Note to self. Which I find that really funny because I found out that pineapples was the thing after I left retail. And at that time when I was working retail, I had a friend who had a pineapple tattoo on her forearm. And I had no idea.
So now you know. See, it's like being part of a secret club.
I know. And the thing is like I didn't get that from them. And I was single at the time that I knew her. So I had no idea. I never got those vibes from them. But then afterwards, I realized that a lot of the times I hung out with that couple, they invited another couple to hang out.
Oh, so now you're starting to catch on.
And so after I figured it out, I was like, maybe I was just blind.
You see, that's why it's helpful to read taboo books also, because like even if you're not like into it, it just kind of like puts you in like the secret club of like knowing things and like picking up on things you wouldn't have before. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so if you there's also I stopped because there is also this certain level of BDSM. It falls into the taboo category, and also the dark romance taboo category. And I feel like there is also a misconception between what is real and what isn't. and that if you don't do your research, you don't really know.
Yeah.
Like you have, because, for example, 50 Shades of Grey, when it came out, a lot of people were kind of appalled, especially when the movies came out and everybody, I saw a lot of posts that were like, if that man was broke and living in a trailer house, or just average and living in a regular home, he would not be, so romanticized. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's fiction. That's the whole point.
Yeah. There's
But
elements to it. Of course, that was part of her fascination.
right. But the other part of that is not knowing enough about that community makes you feel as if it's wrong when there's really not anything wrong with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I feel this way about a lot of things, but I'm like, educate yourself enough to know whether or not it is something that you personally would want to do, but also be respectful enough of others to just be like, I'm glad that works for you. I hope you're having a good time, enjoying your life. I want no part. And just...
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if we can sit here and read a thriller about like murder and all kinds of like craziness. Like I'm not saying I enjoy thrillers because that's something that I want to do or experience.
Right. Yes.
The point of reading is to like expose yourself to other worlds. Like what's the point of reading about something you're already living?
Yeah, because honestly, as much as I love an MC romance, my husband rides, and I don't. It's not real. I'm sorry, but no one will ride on the backside of a Harley for 10 hours straight. No, it's not comfortable. First of all, I don't care what motorcycle you're on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not comfortable.
Right.
And you have to stop more than once to go pee because you literally get maybe 100 miles to the tank.
We see things in movies all the time that we know is not real. So
honestly, but yes. So you had your ARC experience. Did you feel like, or do you currently feel like, there's a lot of pressure to have a certain rating when you read an ARC?
Pressure for like me as the ARC reader, or for the author?
Mm-hmm. For the ARC reader, like, did you feel pressured to give it a certain star?
No, but I was also very lucky that I really liked it because I might have felt differently if I didn't. Yeah. Because, it's so important for an indie author, like, to have a good rating. I feel like it's kind of harsh to give like a 1 or 2 star. Like, for that, I'd rather just not rate it at all, or just, like, back out of it. Like, I would never try to break someone when they're trying to build themselves up,
Yeah. On that end, I'm kind of torn because I'm going to be really honest. I hardly ever rate anything less than a 3. But I'm also very much if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to force myself to read it. I will DNF very quickly.
Yeah.
So I mean, why would I ever want to finish something that would potentially be a 1 or 2 star? I would rather DNF.
So but I feel like that's more respectful to do. Like, I would do the same. I would just have to communicate with the author and just say, and I'm sure the author themselves would appreciate it. Not everything's everybody's cup of tea. Yeah. But to be like a 1 or 2 star, that's mean.
Well, in the case of an ARC, like, I've never had this happen because I ARC for people I enjoy their writing. Mm-hmm. So I already know that I'm most likely going to love what they're writing, what they're sending to me. However, if I ever did end up in a situation where I was ARCing for someone who is maybe a debut author and I don't know their writing style and I haven't read anything from them yet, no short stories or anything, and I get to a point where in this situation, that review, regardless if it's a 1 star, 2 star, 3, or whatever, like, it's necessary because they're debuting.
Yeah.
Or maybe because it's their second or third and they need that recognition, because my 1 star may be somebody I would go to them. because there are a lot of teams that I have been on that will say it's not that you can't rate 3-star or less, but we ask for you to wait until we actually release. Well, kind of defeats the purpose of ARC reading, does it not?
Yeah.
And then, even if I were in that situation and I felt like it was not going to be 3 or more, I would probably go to them and be like, look, this is verging on a DNF for me. Would you rather me struggle through and finish and give you the lower rating, or would you rather I just put it down?
Yeah, back.
Because for me, I don't want to push through something like that if I'm not enjoying it. But I'm also back to the ADHD thing. I can set it down and wait. And there will be at some point a day where I can go, okay, I really want to figure out what happens.
Yeah.
The first book I got into reading with, the second half of my life after I had gotten married, was Mercy by Jodi Picoult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it's not a good book, but it has a lot of description about cheating in it. That's a hard no for me. It's not necessarily a trigger. It's just very hard for me to read.
Yeah.
It took me 6 months to read that one book. It's like a 400-page book. I have devoured a 600-page book in less than 12 hours before.
Yeah, I see exactly what you mean with that. I felt like Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I like her books, but that one for me, I felt like it was so, like, again, I think it's just toxic, like, behavior, and it was like, I don't know, would that be triggering? Maybe. I finished it, and I could say it's like I enjoyed it, but also there were parts of it that really, like, got under my skin at some points. I'm like, ugh.
The only few that I've been able actually to read and finish from Coho, It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, which fell flat for me, Verity, Layla, and Reminders of Him.
Did you like Verity? How are you one of the people that loved it, or are you one of the people that hated it? I really, really, really loved it, but I also really understand why people don't.
I loved it.
You're one of us.
But I started with Verity from Coho.
Was that? Oh no, It Ends With Us was my first one, and then I got into Verity.
So when you start with a thriller that is twisty, twirly, kind of messed up in the head, and first of all, are you team manuscript or team letter?
Oh my god! See, this is where I get a little bit like, I want to say I'm team manuscript, but oh my god, like, all right.
Well, you're a mother, so
yeah.
If you were to be team manuscript, I feel like you would just be like, I don't understand how that's even possible. But there are a lot of people who are mothers who probably should not have been.
Yes. So my thing is, like, when people are, like, turned off by the book, I feel like the ending kind of, like, saved it in a way. You know what I mean? Like, when it's like the twist at the end, like, that kind of is a possibility for everything to be, like, saved. So I felt like if that was what bothered you about it, then, like, be on that team and just, like, I don't want to give too much away, but you know what I mean? Like, I felt like, okay, it was like recovery for me right there. I chose
like it was that was in the epilogue, was it not?
Yeah, yeah.
So you think maybe when she originally wrote it, she didn't mean to write it with the letter there, so it was meant to be as it was, and then she realized
she's got second thoughts
that
reel it in.
People were going to be really upset and angry.
Maybe that would be sick, but what team are you? When I think about it, I'm like, oh my god.
Manuscript.
Yeah, your team manuscript. I wish we could get, like, an answer. I want answers. I really do.
Nope. I really felt like first of all, I felt like it was intentional. it's possible that the epilogue was like in a last minute addition, but I also felt like it was intentional because it keeps you talking about it. I do, however, feel like the letter was written in a last ditch effort to try to throw the father off.
Which would be, yeah. I mean, if she was that, yeah, psychotic, then that would be a possibility. That would definitely be a possibility.
Right, right. So yeah, yeah.
Is that a book you would recommend? Like, I don't know, like I loved it and I feel like it's such a controversial book to recommend though. Although I love it and I feel like everyone should read it. It's like there were parts where I was like, and it takes a lot to do that to me.
No,
Yeah.
it's not something I would recommend just because, like, as much as I did love it, I also felt like by the time I read some of her other stuff and I've read different stories and different authors, I might get some hate for this, but I felt like it would have been done better justice to the storyline itself if someone else had written it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a huge fan of hers anyways. Like, I can easily say I read something start to finish and I gave it like a 3-star. I loved it.
Yeah.
That does not necessarily mean that it's something that I'm going to, like, if I really like loved something from start to finish, rant and rave about it constantly, can't stop thinking about it, if I'm going to be recommending one of those to you, like, I'm telling you, every week I'm thinking about it. One of those books is called Taming Seraphine.
Oh, I have to look at that.
And the main female, it's a dark, dark, dark romance. The main female character is completely psychotic, but that's because she was kept in a hole, essentially, her entire life by her biological father, who hired men to make her what's called a Lolita assassin.
Oh my gosh, this sounds good. That sounds good.
She's twisted in the head. Her rescuer is twisted in the head. And I'm just like, it's so good.
I'm going to add it to my list before I forget. Taming Seraphine.
Yes. So good. I need to read more about that author.
See, I feel like you can recommend dark books like that, like to people who you know are into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I know that you can handle it, then I'll recommend it. But otherwise, I'm not going to generally recommend.
I have a lot of hesitancy when people are like, I need dark romance. And I'm like,
I'm cracking up because Angel Maker,
nope.
when I like searched it, it's already like hearted. It's on a list of mine somewhere. Of course. And we're talking books. Like we should already know. I'm going to hold you to it. Let's hope by January that you'll have read a Frida book.
You know what? We'll see. The demand avoidance is real.
And I can't wait till you do, and then you're going to be on the Frida train.
I need to get on it. A lot of people are really...
But there's specific ones that I would recommend to you.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess we better get... Thank you for joining me.
Yay. Thank you. It was so much fun.